Hi guys, my name is Christine and I'm a dating, relationship and personal development coach. And today I'm talking about don't just survive without them, thrive without them. So let's not sugarcoat this. It sucks when you get broken up with and you didn't want the breakup to happen, or someone loses interest in you and you didn't want that to happen. You wanted to be in a relationship with them, you wanted to be with them. It can really knock your self-esteem. It can really make you feel just generally just awful about yourself because it makes you feel unlovable, it makes you feel unwanted, and it can really put you down in the dumps. So we want to try and fix this. We want to try and not just survive without them, we want to thrive without them. We don't want to just be getting by and wishing that they were still here. We want to be getting on with our lives and showing them that what they've done isn't going to affect us. So that's ideally where I want you to be. I want you to be in a place where you're thriving, where you're feeling great, where your life has improved because of this breakup or this situationship. Okay? So how do you do this then? So obviously you've got to find a way to genuinely move on with your life. You have to move on from them. You have to walk away. You have to apply no contact. You have to vow to yourself that you're never ever gonna contact them. Again. If you have like a moment of weakness, you're just never gonna do this. You're just never gonna contact them ever again, and you're going to start to genuinely move on with your life. So one of the ways that you can start moving on with your life is, first of all, trying to find a way to heal and get over the situation, because you have to do the inner work first. If you just bury it down and bottle it up, that's not going to do you any favors. That's just going to make the situation worse. You're basically just painting over mold, if you think of it like that. Instead of getting rid of the mold and like washing it off the walls and treating the wall, you're just painting over it, and basically that mold is just going to come back, if you think of it in those terms. So the way that you start to genuinely move on is doing that inner work. Now, some of you might be struggling so much that you may need a therapist or a counselor, which I highly recommend you do if you're really struggling with this. But if you feel like you can manage this kind of thing on your own, then journaling is a great way to do this, getting your thoughts down on paper. So what I would recommend that you do is write down everything that happened in that relationship, situationship, whatever happened in the breakup, how things ended. Write everything down. And what you want to do is you want to be extremely truthful with what happened. You don't want to be sugarcoating it for yourself. You want to be just basically saying the facts. And if that means that you slipped up here and there yourself, then you have to be honest with it. Because sometimes when we write down in a journal, or we are writing something down in general, it doesn't even have to be a journal, we're writing as if someone is going to read it. We're writing for the intention of, it's almost like we put on a performance when we write. But you don't want to be doing this. This should be just a personal account that is just for you. And if you did some embarrassing stuff, admit to it. Okay, don't be trying to like hide the truth. If you did those things, if you did things that you're not 100% happy with, where maybe you had a few moments of weakness, you got to write about those things too. You got to write about the pain and how much it sucked and how much you wished you'd behaved this way or done this. You have to be extremely truthful to yourself. And if you're not comfortable with having that kind of information around, then you can just burn it, throw it down the toilet, tear it up, delete it if you write on your phone or on your computer or something like that. So you don't have to keep this information around if you're worried that someone's going to find it, especially if you did do a couple of embarrassing things. So what this does then, when you write down something truthful, you've got all the facts in front of you and you can go over it, you can read it, and you can discover like where you went wrong and what you can do in the future. You can discover things that you can see like little clues as to what you're not going to want in the future. Because let's say your ex or whoever this person is displayed a kind of behavior, and you can now see that now that you've written it down on paper. You can see what they did, and you're like, okay, when I get into a new relationship, I'm going to look out for these things. I'm going to look, because if I notice the red flags to begin with, then I'm not going to get myself into that situation again. I'm just going to end it there and there. So it's a good way to actually figure out what it is you do want and what it is you don't want as well when you meet someone else. So that's basically how you can do the inner work without a therapist. unless you are obviously going through something really, really tough and you do need the aid of a medical professional. I'm not a medical professional. I can't help you with that kind of stuff. I can only give you advice on things that has worked for me with different things. And that's personally what has worked for me when I've gone through different events in my life that I needed to get over. I write them down. And I have actually had counselling before in the past as well. I had some last year actually. So that really helped with me with different situations that had happened to me during my childhood, because I had a really tough childhood and not many people know that. In fact, not many people in my circle of friends and family know about how bad things actually were for me as a kid. I basically had a older sibling that was just making my life hell. And he was making my life hell from a very, very early age. He would like do horrible things like step on my feet on purpose. And this was my older sibling. He was 9 years older than me. This wasn't like one of those things where you have like a bit of a sibling rivalry with a sibling that's maybe like a couple of years or a couple of years younger than you. This was pretty much a man who was an adult through pretty much a lot of my early life. He was a teenager through some of it as well, but most of the time he was very old, right? There was a big age gap basically. And he made my life hell. And I was very timid. I was very weak growing up. I had zero confidence because he had pretty much beaten it out of me. He'd made me feel so low and so horrible about myself that it made me so insecure as a teenager and as an early adult. And it made me insecure as a child too, because I felt worthless because he made me feel worthless. And I spent a lot of my time with him. I was around him a lot because he was a sibling. And because he was that older role, my parents, he became like another babysitter for me, basically. And he became like another parent because I spent that much time with him, because my parents didn't really know how bad he was. Because he was very good at manipulating and lying. He was very, very crafty, very sneaky. And he just made my life hell. And when you grow up in an environment like that, you become needy, you become insecure as a teenager and as an adult. When you don't get the self-esteem, affirmations, and you don't have people around you that are building you up. Now, my parents were great. They were like that. They were very self-affirming. But because I had someone in my life who was very dominant, a prominent part of my life for a long time, when if you've got someone in your life who you spend a lot of your time with growing up, whether that is a parent or a sibling, and they just make you feel horrible and worthless about yourself, then that's how you're going to feel, because you're going to have like these mixed messages. So sometimes in my life I would be quite confident, but other times I'll be very reserved and scared and afraid, because it's how I grew up. I grew up with mixed messages of how I should view myself. I got the affirmation from my parents, but I also had an older sibling, a much older sibling, who was making my life hell and making me feel worthless and crap about myself. So, it comes with those things, right? If you're growing up in an environment like that, it can make you very insecure, and it can make you, when you get into like relationships and stuff as well, it can make you needy and insecure too. Like it was almost like if you have these things growing up where you don't get enough I love yous, and you don't get that affirmation, you don't get the self-esteem building blocks for yourself, it can affect other areas of your life. It spreads everywhere. It's like a disease, it's like a virus. So if you've struggled with relationships in the past, you've struggled getting over people, you've struggled with relationships, you've struggled with the romance, the friendships, you've struggled maybe with your confidence in your job. Like I said, it's like a virus. It could be because maybe you didn't get enough affirmation as a kid. So I highly empathize with anyone that's had similar experiences to that with a parent or a sibling or another family member. It can be very tough growing in an environment like that, this toxic environment. So when you sort of start to fix these issues and start to fix these problems, and you can see, okay, if I was in that situation again now as an adult, how would I behave? How would I act? Then you're more likely to get over these things. So you need to heal, right? You need to get over it before you can enter a new relationship. So that's the idea then, is that you also want to get yourself into a new relationship at some point. And you want to find someone who's not only just someone new who you find attractive. You want to find someone who's like a level up from this person and this ex, right? Because like I say, you don't want to survive. You want to thrive. You want to be doing better, right? So that means you need to get someone who is better. Find someone who is better. And also, I talk about this all the time on my channel, but I think it's really important. But you should always be trying to make your dreams a reality. Because if you've got like low self-esteem and low self-respect, you're going to be entering these low vibrational relationships. So ideally then, you know, you've got to be trying to figure out ways to make your life the way you want it. You've got to figure out, okay, so how do I want my life to be? How much money do I want to be earning? What do I want my body to look like? What do I want my friendships to be like? What kind of area do I want to be living in? You've got to figure out how you would love your life to be, and then try and make that a reality. Like, what are some action things that you can do every single day to make these things a reality? Because not only should you get an amazing new partner who's way better than this previous person, but you should also be getting someone who is you should also be not only that, but creating an awesome life for yourself. So your life is better, your new partner is better, and that really shows to this person. They may know, they may not, maybe they stalk your social media, but when they look, if they ever do get a curiosity and they decide to stalk you or decide to fish about information about you from mutual friends, they're going to discover that you're doing way better without them. And that's the kind of thing that I want for you, and I hope that you will take into consideration, start taking action on. You don't want to just survive, you want to thrive. So thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to get in touch with me personally and you'd like coaching with me, then please go to www.christinelovridge.com, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye.